Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of NB Bassin. We're going to try this again. This is attempt number 3 at recording part 1 of this week's show. If anyone attempted to listen to my first attempt, apparently I had some technical difficulties, so that version's been taken down, and we're going to try again. Second attempt was unsuccessful due to some other issues. Before we go any further, as always, thanks go out to Fish Bum Outfitters, Carrot Sticks Rods, Southern Yankee Baits, War Dog Lures, Northern Michigan Outfitters, Hooked on Canadian Angling, and most importantly, my wife and my son. Without them, doing what I do just isn't quite the same. And of course, special thank you to my tournament partner, Jason. We've been friends basically our whole lives, and getting the opportunity to do this kind of thing with someone that you've been friends with forever is just kind of special in its own right. So, Jason, if you're listening, I hope you are, you bugger. I appreciate everything that you do, and it's great to be on the water with you. A couple things this week, or this part of this week's show that I want to discuss. To lead into the first one, I have to say congratulations to the team of Brad Mason and Max Dussault, winning their first ever New Brunswick Sport Fishing Association event as a team. And they are, as I said, kind of the inspiration to this first topic. Boys, just because you inspired me, don't let it go to your heads. The inspiration for the topic is basically the big boat myth in tournament fishing. I mentioned this many episodes back, talking about guys that are scared to get into tournament fishing because their boat's too slow. They see the 200s, the 225s, the 250s on the 19, 20, 21 foot boats, and they get intimidated. Oh, my boat's not fast enough. Well, Max and Brad went out in a 48 boat field, so basically a 50 boat field, in I believe it's 16 foot, might be 16 and a half, aluminum, with a 50 horse. And they made one of the longest runs of any boat in the field. There was probably only a couple boats that may have gone any further than what they did. And they took home the trophy and the checks. So, the big boat myth, yes, there are some advantages to having a faster boat. There's no denying that, but they are not essential. You can be competitive in a smaller boat. You have to. I've said this before. When you fish out of a smaller boat under tournament, conditions. I'm stumbling all over myself here. When you fish out of a smaller boat under tournament conditions, you have to fish smarter. The whole run and gun option is not going to work for you. But if you can have faith and commit to a spot or a smaller area, you may make a long run to your spot, but you're not going to have the ability to make a long run in the opposite direction if that spot isn't paying off. You have the ability, but it's going to cost you a lot of time. So when you're running a smaller boat, no, you don't. You have to fish smarter, because you're not going to be able to fish faster. So, Max and Brad, congratulations again. To everyone who still thinks you need that 200 to 250 horsepower motor hanging on the back of a big boat to be competitive, well, there's proof right there that you don't. So, don't let it scare you away from fishing a tournament. Don't let it stop you because you've got a smaller boat. You've got a 17 foot with a 90 or a 75 or whatever you've got. Come on out. Find your local club, your local series. Get out on the water and give it a try. Because at the end of the day, the boat doesn't catch the fish. The boat is just a tool. No different than your rods and your baits, your electronics. They're all part of the package. So don't let boat size, come on guys, stop worrying about whether or not size matters. Get out on the water, I guess is what I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, if you've got a motor on the back and you've got the ability to keep your fish alive and you're interested in tournament fishing, get out and try it. And end of discussion right there as far as I'm concerned. So now, Max and Brad and their victory in a smaller boat was kind of my inspiration for my first topic of discussion. Unfortunately, my own weekend and our performance, I wish this part was inspired by somebody else, but this next part is inspired by our own weekend. And how do you recover psychologically after a bad performance? Well, Jason and I had, and we're not the only ones, and I know we're not, but we had a brutal day. It was rough. We went to a spot, water was dirty. We did the run and gun, is what we ended up doing. We tried to go into an event and say, okay, here's going to be our first spot, plan A, plan B, plan C, and so on. Well, normally, like, plan A, plan B, plan C, maybe plan D, 3, 4 solid spots, and then pick up some spots along the way that are just quick stops because either they're there or they're not. But I really think that this week we almost ran out of letters of the alphabet. It was bad. It was really, really bad. We were sitting on 3 fish at 3:30 in the afternoon with weigh-in at 4. Now, we didn't quit. We didn't throw in the towel and hang our heads in shame and go load the boat up and say, nah, it's not gonna happen. We're going home. No. We fish until we have 5 fish in the boat, or until such time as there's just not enough time to make it back to weigh in. And if we have 1 fish, we weigh in 1 fish. If we have 5, which is preferable, obviously, we weigh in 5. We don't come off the water early. We're going to fish. Even if we've got a good bag, we hammer it out until the last gun's fired, because you never know. That one big bite could come when you're 500 feet from the weigh-in and you realize that the shoreline's full and you need to just float offshore for a bit, and there's 5 minutes to go in the day, so you pick up a rod and throw a cast. That could be your kicker fish. You just don't know. But psychologically this week, we fought, or well, I'll say we fought, Jason caught. I didn't land a single, and this is part of what plays on your head. I didn't land a single keeper all day. Caught a couple little 8, 10-inch fish, nothing that would keep, nothing we could weigh. Like I said, we were sitting on 3 fish, with less than half an hour to go. About 20 minutes to go, Jason ended up putting 3 small keepers in the boat to round out our limit and allow us to call once for maybe an ounce. With 20 minutes to go in the day. We could have, thrown our hands in the air and said, oh, we're taking our 3 and we're going in. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the extra 2 keepers that we put in the live well didn't break any records. We still only weighed in 5 fish for 6.8 pounds. There wasn't a lot of weight there. But we came in with 5, we didn't quit. So you're probably saying, well, if you came in with 5, you didn't quit, you did everything you can. Why does it get in your head? If you fished in tournaments, you'll understand to an extent. Everybody's different, obviously. But if you fished in tournaments and you've had a bad day, which every tournament angler has, you'll understand that sometimes it does get in your head, because you know that you're better than what you've produced on that day. And when you can't produce to what you know is the best of your ability, it gets frustrating. Especially if you're having not just one bad event, but two, or if you end up putting 2 or 3 back to back, it gets really frustrating. But you can't let it take over. Because I can tell you from personal experience, you let it get too far in your head, then it is going to start affecting your angling. It is going to start affecting things. Last year, I went through a run where I, for whatever reason, hook set after hook set after hook set, I was missing. And it started to bug me psychologically to the point I was even talking to friends of mine. Just saying, what am I doing? Like trying to, and yes, I was trying to fix it. But I was self-conscious of it. Every time I was on the water, I'm like, no, and I was hesitating. I wasn't listening to my hands, I guess you could say. I wasn't doing what the rod was telling me to do when I was getting my bites. And then finally I got into a day where the fish it was a fun fish, and the fish were aggressive enough that they were almost hooking themselves. And all of a sudden it's like ding, 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 light bulb time. And everything kind of smoothed itself out. It's that easy. And yes, it's just for fun. But I don't care if your name is Donald Patterson, or if your name is Greg Hackney or Kevin Van Dam. We all have bad days. But it's how we deal with those bad days, especially under tournament conditions, that will separate guys that are good and guys that can be great. Even on the local level, someone's going to be great. So you can't get inside your own head. It's get back out on the water. Remind yourself that, hey, it's only one day. It's not going to kill me. I'm not making a living. It's not like I couldn't feed my family because I had a bad day on the water. Remind yourself about what's important. Because as I've said in many cases, for most of us, we're just doing this for a little bit of fun. If we cash a check and cover some expenses, well, hey, that's great. But if we're relying on that check to feed our family and pay some bills, then we probably shouldn't be doing what we're doing. So, and I did. You're going to get inside your own head for a few minutes. Maybe a couple hours. You're going to beat yourself up until you find that one trigger that puts everything back in perspective. For me, I had a conversation with my wife, got a little bit of a verbal kick in the butt, and she told me to, basically pull my head out of my butt and get my head back on straight. Because I was beating myself up bad this weekend. And that little light bulb moment, she triggered it. And, I start picking apart, instead of beating myself up, I start picking apart the weekend. So I can learn from it instead of punish myself for it. It's a pretty simple concept at the end of the day. It's just a matter of realizing it and capitalizing on it. There's nothing to regret if you learn something. But if you beat yourself up, you're not going to learn from it. You're going to make yourself worse. It's going to get far worse than it ever was. So, and maybe I just sound like I'm rambling, but hopefully someone will get a little something out of it. And just, like I said, I guess I've used the expression before. It's just fishing. So, you're not feeding your family doing this. Just take it easy and have some fun. Ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much wraps up this segment before I ramble beyond my 15-minute marker. Thanks to Fish Bum Outfitters, Carrot Sticks Rods, Southern Yankee Baits, War Dog Lures, Northern Michigan Outfitters, Hooked on Canadian Angling, my wife, my son, my tournament partner, Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, set that hook. Keep those lines tight. We'll catch you next time.